The Cryptid Creatures Show. If you're a fan of the show, go and check out our new Patreon site. You'll get access to our private Discord server, exclusive merchandise, access to all live streams and Q&As, discounts on merch from the Cryptid Creatures store, and get a chance to be a guest host during one of the show's recordings. Just go to www.patreon.com/cryptidcreatures1. Thank you for listening and supporting the show.
In the middle of the night, I wake up and I hear footfalls outside of the truck. And then I hear something running its hand down the side of the cap. I could see like shadow. And the next thing I know, I hear whatever it was that was like right outside the truck, but something further back. I hear a grunt. And it's this tall, pale, real bony type body, very, very skinny. It's kind of hunched over.
This is the Cryptid Creatures Show. I am Brian, and with me as always, my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
Brian, tonight's guest is Steven, and he's coming on to talk about a couple strange creatures that he encountered. I think one might be a Bigfoot. I'm not sure what the other one is.
Well, let's find out. That sounds interesting.
Before we do that, and speaking of strange creatures, did you see that video of the lady on the plane who got freaked out by the passenger beside her and said he wasn't a real person?
Yeah, what was she?
She left the plane. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Listeners, I'm sure a lot of you guys saw that too. I saw an excerpt, a video from a guy who was sitting like a couple of rows behind her and over. He put this on social media or YouTube. I can't remember where I saw it. But basically he was saying that the guy had a hoodie up and she was talking to him, and you could tell she was getting more frustrated as the conversation went on, but he couldn't tell that the guy was really saying anything. And then she got up and she took off, and someone that was listening to the conversation, because it was getting louder, had looked over and noticed and said that they swore when the guy looked at her. He wasn't saying anything, but he blinked, and he blinked sideways. His eyes came in like he had eyelids.
Oh, like the lizard?
Yeah, and that freaked her out, and she got up. It was almost like she thought he was strange, and she was talking to him, trying to see what his deal was, and the deeper the conversation went, the more weird it got for her. And then he does this weird side eyelid blink, and she's like, "I'm out of here. I'm done."
Whoa.
And that's all I've heard so far. I want to continue this and figure this out. Listeners, if you guys have heard anything about this, please
let's dive into this, man.
Tell us what's going on with this situation. I really want to know. This is a very interesting situation. So,
yeah. But
that being said, we should bring our guest Steven on and see what he saw and encountered and what freaked him out.
Yep. Let's get him.
All right.
This is Lyle Blackburn, and you're listening to the Cryptid Creatures podcast with Brian and Todd.
Hey, Steven,
Hello.
how you doing?
Oh, great. Beautiful day.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, no problem.
We know that you've had several different encounters with different things. Why don't you start with the first one and tell us what was going on and what happened to you?
Okay. Well, the first encounter, I was 12 years old. I grew up in a little town, Marion, Ohio. My dad and I, our favorite thing to do was to hunt. And typically we would rifle hunt, and we would do that down in Salt Fork State Park. So, like I said, I was about 12 years old. We went to... usually we would go down there, we would get a hotel room, but for some strange reason, my dad decided that he wanted to, instead of spending the money on the hotel, he wanted to stay at this primitive campground, and in Salt Fork State Park. So we got there like the night before. We got there, it was late, it was dark, we pulled up, parked. So we had just thrown an old mattress in the back and, put some pillows and blankets in there. and we got all our gear stowed, and we laid down and went to sleep. At some point in the middle of the night, I wake up and I hear like footfalls outside of the truck, and then I hear what sounded to me like something running its hand down the side of the fiberglass cap. And I couldn't see a lot of detail, but I could see like shadow, And the next thing I know, I hear not from whatever it was that was like right outside the truck, but something further back. I hear a grunt, and then whatever was like right outside the truck, kind of, I hear footfalls again, and it walks away. Never seen whatever it was. It was just very odd, and I've been told by some people that are familiar with Salt Fork that is what they now refer to it with, a lot of people in the Bigfoot world call it Bigfoot Ridge or something like that. So then I fall back asleep, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up to my dad's. My dad had a Casio watch, and the alarm was going off on his phone, or not a phone, but his Casio watch. So we get up, we get breakfast, we get around. We went to this place in Salt Fork. We went every time. It was I think it's like Road 52. So like you come in the main entrance, and you go across like the bridge, and you turn on like the second road. I believe it's Road 52. And you go a little ways there, and there's like a little pull off. And there's like an old, I call it a logging road, but I think it was actually a road at some point. But it's just, just a dirt path. And you go up, and up on top of there, when you get up to the very top, there's like an apple orchard, and we would usually go up in there and then kind of come down, and there was like a little ravine. Well, for some reason, I don't know, Dad decided he didn't want to go all the way up. So we got about halfway up, and we went over into the woods there, and then down into the ravine, and we just kind of found a little spot along the side, with a little bit of height, to it, and we just kind of sit down and waited to see what was going to come in. About 9:00, maybe a little after, this nice looking deer came walking in, and my dad kind of nudged me and said, "Hey, let him have it." So I fired, and I hit it. It ran up the other side of the ravine and up onto the top, and it ran out of sight. But I heard it distinctly fall down. So we knew it was down. Dad kind of nudged me, and I was kind of like getting stuff around. I was going to go retrieve the deer. Dad kind of nudged me and said, "Hey, let's just stay here for a minute, for a little bit. Let's see, the deer ain't going nowhere. Let's just see what kind of happens." So I don't know, an hour or so later, he started to get a little hungry, and he's like, let's go get your deer. Let's go take care of it, and we'll go, put it in the truck, and we'll go get some lunch, and then hunt the rest of the day. So we got all our stuff around. I was in the front. Dad was behind me because I didn't like following my dad. He had this nasty habit of not holding the branches for you and letting them fly back in your face. So we're walking. We go up the ravine. We crest the hill, and as we crest the hill, and I've got my typical 12-year-old kid. I'm kind of looking at my feet, looking at the ground, not really paying much attention. I look up, and there's my deer, and standing behind my deer is this 8-foot. I assume it was a Bigfoot. and it's just kind of standing there. It was, like I said, about 8 foot, hairy, had the typical conical head, real inset eyes. So about 3 seconds after, I, see this thing, my dad runs into the back of me, bam, he wasn't paying attention either. And then we both kind of, see the creature, see what's going on. And I start to take a step, and my dad kind of pushes me back behind him. And the Bigfoot kind of, creature, it kind of does this like sway thing back and forth, kind of methodical. And I don't know I honestly don't know what that was all about. And then Dad kind of tells me, "Hey, nope, that's his deer. Let's get out of here." So we kept him in sight. I say him because I believe it was a male. And we kind of walked backwards, got to the edge of the ravine, and we turned around, walked down the side of the hill, and we went straight to the truck, his pickup truck. We got all our gear in it, and we left. We drove home. We didn't stop and get, anything to eat or anything. We just went straight home. Didn't talk anywhere, at all on the entire trip home. I think we were kind of like dumbfounded, shocked by what had occurred.
So how far away were you from the deer and the Bigfoot when you guys first saw it?
I want to say 100, 120 feet, maybe 100, something like that. Not very far. We were very close. Close enough that I could see, I could see some detail. I could see something, see what I was looking at. It had like brownish, reddish fur, longer, like along the arms, but at times, like where the sunlight, so like it was brown, but like where the sunlight was hitting it, it was red. Kind of had like a red tinge to it.
So what, you and your dad just never, did you talk about it eventually?
We talked about it a little bit. I talked about it with my dad a little bit, not a whole lot. I talked about it with my grandmother. My family is Cherokee. My family comes from the Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky triangle down there. And my grandmother referred to it as the old people of the forest, or the old tribe, or she used several different terminology to refer to who they, what that was. Because I was like, Grandma, I had this happen, and I'm trying to make sense of it. I don't know what it was, because Bigfoot back in the day, it really wasn't on my radar, as a kid. I mean, we had heard stories, and folklore and, things like that. But I never really viewed it as a real creature. You know what I mean? I always thought it was like myth and legend kind of thing,
So what else have you seen then? What else, what other encounters have you ran into?
So I'm an over-the-road truck driver. I've spent about 30 years out here up and down the highways, long haul. I run a lot of East Coast stuff. I run back and forth across Pennsylvania. So I don't know, a few months ago, I was coming out of Jersey, and I believe I was coming out with a load of potato chips, and I was heading over to like Indiana. I was on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And I ran out of time, and the PA Turnpike, I don't know if you've ever been on the PA Turnpike, they got all these like little pull-off places where you can pull off, and, as long as you're on the other side of this like yellow line, you're good. And so I, pulled over there and went to sleep. So I have about an 85-pound pit bull that rides with me. Her name's Harley. She goes everywhere I go. She's kind of my early warning system. Somebody gets around the truck, she lets me know. So at any rate, we were parked, we were sleeping, and I don't like to sleep on the turnpike because I don't really feel like I get good rest because there's traffic constantly. You're just kind of like right there by the road. So like, every time a truck drives by, the truck moves or whatever. But sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm woke up to the entire truck just shaking violently, boom, 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 back and forth. And Harley, she comes up out of the bunk. She's not happy. She's growling, and I come up to see what's going on, and I look in my hood mirror, and I look down the passenger side of my trailer, and I see this shadow, this tall shadow thing. I don't know what it was, but it's standing like right there by my trailer. I'm like, okay, what is it? It can't be a person because it's tall. I mean, it's way out of human proportions. But it's black and shaggy. And I kind of sit there for a minute and I watch this, and I don't know if you guys have seen, I've watched a lot of Bigfoot documentaries, and there's one in particular where this woman's talking about, she sees this Bigfoot outside her like living room window or something. And when she sees it, it's walking away, and it kind of turns back and looks at her. That's what I seen. I'm looking in my mirror and I see this thing walk back, and it turns back and kind of looks at me like, what do you want from me? And then it just kind of walks off the edge and down into the woods, and it's gone. I can't tell you exactly like where I was, but I can kind of tell you that I was on the PA Turnpike. I was between Breezewood and where 70 splits off to go like towards Columbus. So between Breezewood and then if you go east, I don't remember where that is, where 70 splits off, but it's very rural, very rugged, very, not a lot of, there's really no towns. It's just cut in the mountains. So we had that. And then, like I was telling you, about 2 years ago, we bought my wife's family's farm, out in Michigan. It's out in the middle of nowhere, literally. It's so like if you about an hour and a half north of Lansing, and then if you go, which would be like around Mount Pleasant area, and then go west about half an hour from there, a little itty bitty town called Remus, Michigan. There's probably 4 houses on our road. My closest neighbor is probably 5 miles away. And we've had a lot of weird stuff happen out there. We've had something, in the middle of the night, like hitting, we have like several outbuildings that have like metal, sheds, metal buildings. And the one that's, like right up against the wood line, would be on the north side of our property. Something in the middle of the night, has hit it on several occasions. I found, I deer hunt out there a lot. So I found a Bigfoot print. It was about 18 inches. Actually, I took a picture of it, sent it to Cliff Barackman. He looked at it, and Cliff kind of said, I can't really say for certain what it is. It's kind of vague, but Sasquatch prints are vague by their nature. And, he said, go back to it, see if you can cast it, put something in the picture for scale. And, so where I found this print was, we live on it's a dirt road. It's about where I found it was about a half a mile down the road that we live on, just down a little ways from where our house sits. And it's a dirt road. The county comes down, every so often, and they grade. Well, the county had graded the road like the night before in the evening, and then I found the print that next afternoon. Well, after I got the message back from Cliff, I went back out there to cast it, and the county had come back and graded again. I don't know. It's kind of weird because they usually don't do it that often. My luck would have it that, but I still have the real vague footprint. So I have that. And then, we've had things hitting the house. We've, just some really weird stuff, and then, so about a month, I think it's been about a month now, I was home, and the wife and I are laying in bed. It's dark. It's time to go to bed. We're laying there, just kind of talking and getting settled in to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I kind of remembered I'd been out in the one outbuilding, the one that we keep getting slapped. And I remembered that I had left the light on out there. So I throw my shoes on, my slip-on shoes, and I run out there. I run out there and I turn off the light. Well, when I turned the light off, I heard something behind the building, and it made me curious. So I walk around the backside, which would be the north side of our property. And I get around the building, and I see like this big, tall shadow, very, very skinny, thing. I don't know what it was. At the time I didn't really know what it was. But as I'm standing there, it steps out of the tree line, still inside the tree line, but out of the shadow. And it's this tall, pale thing. It's real, real bony type body. It's very, very skinny. It's kind of hunched over. And we kind of stand there for a couple seconds, and I'm trying to make sense of this, and it slowly raises its arm up, and with one of its digits, fingers, whatever you want to call it, it kind of gives me this, come here, which totally freaks me out. I'm really, still to this day, it's only been a month or so, I'm really shook up about all this. Talking about it makes me uneasy. I don't scare easily. But this thing freaked me out. It was like it was trying to, my opinion of this is that it was trying to lure me closer. For what reason, I have no idea. But I got out of there. I took off. I ran back into the house. I closed the door and locked the door. I've looked online, and I've tried to make sense of this. And the closest thing that I've come to is a rake. Didn't really see any facial features. It was really pale, and you could see kind of where eye sockets were, but there wasn't a lot of detail in it.
When did you say this happened?
This happened on my farm, our farm in Michigan.
When was this?
About a month ago.
Just a month ago.
Yeah. Yep.
So how tall was this thing, did you say?
I want to say maybe 6, 7 feet, maybe. It was very tall. I mean, I'm not a very tall person. I'm like 5'9", 5'8". It was considerably taller than me. Yeah. I would say, I would guess between in the 6-7 foot range. Cause it looked like it was taller than the eave, like on the side of the little shed. And that is, it's about 6.5 feet. So
he gestured for you to come to him with his finger.
Yeah. Like, come here. I didn't hear it talk. It gives me chills every time I talk about it, or think about it. Because, I mean, I don't know what its intentions were. I don't know. I could sit here and say that I believe it was a rake, but I don't know for certain. I've never seen anything out there on that property that I like. I mean, okay, Bigfoot. All right. But, and I'm, I mean, I believe Bigfoot is real. I don't believe that it's spiritual or a spiritual animal. I believe it's flesh and blood, maybe it has some type of, I'm not real big in the woo. Okay. But this thing, and I can only give you my perception. I can't tell you for certain but it felt to me like it was trying to lure me further into the woods, into the forest, right there. Because like right behind that outbuilding is woods, and then there's like about 5 miles, and then boom, there's another neighbor. I've never seen anything like that out there before or since. So,
was it at night? Was it a well lit area? Or was it pretty dark?
No, it's pretty dark. We do have a security light that's on a pole. But behind that shed, like I said, like once you step kind of out of the forest, like out of the woods, and out of the tree line, you're kind of lit up, but not like daylight, but enough that you can see, what you're looking at. We have, like, since all this kind of stuff started happening, my wife had we invested in security cameras and lights that, come on, with motion detected lights.
You're listening to the Cryptid Creatures Show with Brian and Todd. If you're enjoying the show or would like to submit an encounter, visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net, or you can email us at info@cryptidcreatures.co. Now back to the show.
Because of all this weirdness that's happened,
I'm just trying to think if maybe it was a dog man. Maybe he just didn't see.
No, there was. I could see enough that. I mean, I couldn't say facial features, but I could see enough that. I mean, to me, if it was a dog man, I don't think it would have been pale. I think it would have been, a dark color. Yeah. And I didn't see the big snout or anything like that. The face was very plain. You could kind of make out like eye sockets and maybe a little bit of a mouth, but there was no protrusion, like a dog would be.
Okay.
That's kind of why I kind of went to rake. Cause let's be honest with you, living in Michigan, my first thought was dog man,
Right.
And I've looked around in that area, like at some of the like paranormal groups. There's this thing that they call the, I'm trying to think of what the corn stalker. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
I guess it's some type of Michigan thing. I did some looking at that, and was similar, but it more, to me, it more matched what I read about the rake than anything else.
Okay.
So then, after that, I went back out on the road. I usually spend 2-3 weeks out. But I went back out over the road for a couple weeks, and then I came home. And we had, I was home for about a week or so. And like the day before I was set to leave, because we had a family member pass away. The day before I was set to leave, the wife and I are kind of winding down our evening. We're watching TV, and we're just kind of sitting there in the living room with the dogs and stuff. And I hear, we're watching TV, and the TV is pretty loud. And we hear this howl. And living where, and growing up, hunting and, living where we do, I know what coyotes sound like. I've heard wolves howl. The wife kind of looks at me, and I look at her, and I said, "Did you hear that?" And she said, "Yeah." And I get up, and I walk in. I have a great big safe that I keep all my guns in. I grabbed my 12-gauge shotgun, and I put a couple rounds in it, and we stepped out on the porch, and it's still going off. It's howling like the full on, like pretty close to like the Ohio howl. Just that, and it is. I mean, it's loud. I cannot stress upon you how loud this thing was. Like I could feel it like vibrating in my chest, and just and then the wife kind of steps out behind me on the porch, and she kind of looks at me and she goes, "What is that?" And I'm sitting there racking my brain. I'm going, coyote? No. Wolf? I don't think so. And Harley steps out onto the porch, and I turned back and I said, "Carrie, get her in the house. I don't want her to take off running after this thing." And she takes the dog and goes inside, and I walked out onto our lawn. And it was in the woods, which would be east of our property, just like right across the dirt road. And it's after dark. It's dark, and you can still see, shadows and stuff. It's kind of like twilight, I guess you could say. The sun is going down, and I grabbed the flashlight, and I'm scanning the tree line, trying to see what this thing is, because it it's got me a little worried, and I've tried to put a distance on it. I can only really judge distance by feet, because of what I do. I can equate things to about 53 foot because it's a semi-trailer, So I want to say it was about 3 truck lengths inside the tree line, which would put it at about 160, 170 feet inside the tree line. Can't make out like shape, but I see these eyes, these great big reddish, orangish eyes, and they're about 8 feet up. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Because at that time, it kind of clicked in my head what this thing was, or what I thought this thing was. Still, it could have been a dog man. I don't know for certain because I never really seen it. But as I'm standing there, I'm kind of like, all right, big guy. I got respect for you, So I kind of started backing away. I made a decision. I had the 12 gauge in my hand, but to be honest with you guys, it never really occurred to me to use it, to shoot, whatever this was. Because, I mean, for one thing, I didn't know what it was. So as I'm backing up, this thing makes a mad rush towards the road, and it's just crack, snap, bam, just making all this noise. And it's like, which that woods across the way from me is just, it's deadfalls and, trees. And I mean, it's not a very open thing, or woods. It's, it's very dense, very brush covered, and whatever was coming at me, like it was going with intent, and it stopped just out of sight, and I could see the dark shape, and then, like I said, about 8 feet and red eyes. Didn't see facial features other than the red eyes. And I made my way back up onto the porch, and there was probably a good 10 seconds where we just kind of stood there, and then whatever it was, turned and walked away on 2 feet, mind you. It was, and I say that because of the sound. It was the crunch, crunch, crunch. It wasn't. It didn't sound to me to be a bear. I know what bears sound like. I'm familiar with bears. So we have bears out there. I deer hunted in Pennsylvania with my dad. I know what they are. I know what the sounds that they make, and I know what they look like. This was no bear. Can't say for certain what it was, but either Bigfoot or Dogman.
Michigan's got so many things going on. We're hearing more and more things with Michigan and between Dogman and Bigfoot. But you're the second person now that's told us who's seen a rake that we believe is a rake, whatever these things are, that felt like it was gesturing it toward them. Like, hey, come here.
Yeah.
Did you say you had a gun when you saw that rake creature?
No, I did not.
Do you think if you would have had a gun, do you think you might have shot it, or what do you think would have happened?
Wow, man, I don't know.
That's hard to say.
Thought about this. Dude, I thought about this, and I ever since that rake incident, I don't go anywhere on that property without having my 9mm on me. It has affected me that bad.
Oh, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've told some friends of mine that are in into the whole paranormal kind of stuff, and the one friend said, "Well, you probably would have been better off with a Bible than a gun," But I don't know. I can tell you, there's been several times in my life where I've been in fear for my life, and that was one of them. If I had a gun, I probably would. And, well, I don't know. If it had tried to come at me, then I wouldn't have had any choice. I would have had to defend myself. Right. But I honestly don't think, because the thought never, I didn't have a weapon, but the thought never went through my mind. It was more like, I hate to cuss on your program, but I was like, this, I'm out of here, this thing shook me bad.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was looking at your, where Remus, Michigan is, and you're kind of on the outskirts of the Manistee National Forest, but not really. I mean, you're in some wooded area, but, we know these creatures reside or supposedly reside in the Manistee and the Huron National Forest. A lot of sightings go on in there, obviously. But I'm curious as to why they would venture outside of that dense forestry. I don't know if you live in the town of Remus or just outside, but even so, they would have to come into more rural areas, to even up to your backyard, whatever your shed area. They're just being curious or what's going on there.
Well, I live on a farm outside of Remus, so we're east and north of the town of Remus. Very dense wooded area, farmland, lots of turkey, lots of deer. I've been told by this Bigfoot group in Michigan, and I don't know if you want to put stock in this or not, but I was told by several of the investigators in this group that where I live is what they call a north-south corridor. That they go, because we see these, we have these occurrences on our property, and they start to ramp up in the spring, and then after the snow falls, we don't have nothing else happens. And they kind of explained to me that they travel up and down this north-south corridor, from say Manistee, and then go downstate, down into Indiana, Ohio, areas. I don't know how true that is. I can't, but that's what I was told. There's abundant wildlife. For me to speculate why they would leave the Manistee Forest, I don't know. That's because there's ample stuff up there. Now, me personally, I believe that these things stay in a geographical area. I don't think that they really, go, from, state to state to state. But I do believe that they travel and follow the wildlife, follow the game, I don't know if maybe they travel when the weather starts to get bad. They travel south to get away from some of the heavy snowfall that's up north. That's just speculation, I guess.
Yeah, I wondered that too, if they don't move south for the winter, so to speak. But you would think that coming through a place like Indiana, or even just going up and down in Michigan, there'd be a lot more sightings going on. But maybe they're just that stealthy. Yeah. They travel at night, travel along the creek beds or the river beds, and move around somehow. Who knows? Do you think that?
Yeah, who knows?
Do you think that rake creature could have been an alien or something?
That I did consider that as well. It's a possibility. I don't know. I've never seen an alien being, or that I know of. I've seen what I believe to be a UFO on a couple different occasions. One occasion, I was down around the Tennessee-Kentucky border on Interstate 75, and this was a number of years ago. But I see the shooting star come down, and it stops in midair, and then completely changes course, like 180 degrees, and goes back the other direction. Stars don't do that. Shooting stars don't do that. It wasn't a plane. It whatever it was technology that we don't have. And then, probably the last thing that I can remember about wanting to tell you about was, this has been, I believe in March, I believe it was. I was in upstate New York, and we run a lot of government contract stuff, and I can't really tell you because of reasons, but I can tell you I was up near the Canadian border in upstate New York, up near Messina, Fort Drum area, and I was delivering to a place up there, like I said, government stuff. I delivered my load and started my way back. I had to pick up down around Albany, I believe it was. And I'm making my way back down. We got tired. There was a little dirt pull off. Nobody there but me. You know, it looked like an old, like abandoned gas station. Pulled in there, parked. You know, me and Harley were ending our evening. We were watching TV, you know, watching Seinfeld, and I have the truck running, which it's kind of a no-no in the state of New York, but I don't have an APU or any way of, you know, keeping warm, so that's what we were doing. Truck was running. We were watching TV, just kind of settling, you know, getting settled in. And all of a sudden, the truck just shuts off. Bam, you know. TV goes blank. So the power. So I knew the truck didn't just shut off. I knew like it wasn't like there wasn't a code. It wasn't an issue with the truck. Like something electrical happened because the everything in the truck just boom powered down. I had the bunk curtains pulled, and I had the window curtain pulled. So I come out of the bunk, still have the window curtain pulled, and the key is still in the on position, like, you know, like the truck was running. My ELD, electric logging device, you know, semis now have to have the electric like logging. You're really no longer allowed to do paper log unless you have an an older semi. It's blank, so it's powered down. So I'm like, what in the world is going on? I pull back my bunk curtains, or, you know, my window curtains, and I see these 3 lights above me and this outline of this triangle shape. All right. So I want to get a better look at this. So I get out of the truck and I walk to the front of the truck, right on the driver's side, like right where the hood mirror is. And I'm looking up at this thing, you know, this craft. They're white lights, but with a blue tinge, and one on each corner. I could see it was very dark shaped. And then I'm standing there, and Harley gets out, and she's standing right. So we're standing right there looking at this thing. And about that time, you know, there's 2 orbs that come from one from each side and go into this thing. And then eventually, I don't know how long, because the time has kind of eluded me on this whole thing. Eventually, this craft, it starts to make this humming noise, and the bottom of the craft almost like it flips over, and the bottom of the craft is no longer like solid black. It's like there's like these hexagon like tiles, but they're subdued, almost like I really don't know the movie, but it's like one of the like Marvel movies, I believe. There's a girl in that's she's like Diamond. And there's a part of that movie where they break her.
Yeah, X-Men, First Class.
What's that?
X-Men.
Yeah, okay, X-Men, yeah. If you've seen that movie, you know the part that I'm talking about, where she's in diamond form and she's all... Right. It was kind of like that, but not bright, not mirrored. It was subdued. And then the craft kind of turns, and this is an observation. This is me trying to make sense of it. It turns on its side, and then as fast can be, it's gone, like gone. But it's not like it doesn't go. It goes up, but it's not like a normal aircraft. It's like you opened up an envelope and it was gone, like whoop, gone. Very weird.
Did you happen to have the timestamp of how long this lasted?
Man,
or any idea?
I can only guess. Maybe, I mean, from the time that the truck shut off to the time where the craft took off, it wasn't very long. Maybe 15 minutes, if that. Because like I said, I got up, I come out of the bunk, I sit here for a little bit trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And then, I opened the curtains. From the time I got out of the truck, and maybe 5 minutes, and it was gone. It didn't stick around very long.
How high up was it from you, do you think?
Again, I'm trying to equate it to something.
Or could you say how big the UFO was?
It was very large. It took up quite a bit of area. It wasn't like a small disc. It was a big triangle. I want to say probably from tip to tip, maybe 75 feet, and then triangle, maybe. And it was like, it was above the tree line, but not far above the tree line. So it was just hovering there.
Yeah. So not very far away at all.
No.
Being a truck driver, you see a lot of things, out on the road, but you've obviously seen just as much, if not more, at home there in Michigan or in other places, It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In 30 years, I've had a few experiences that I also lived in California for about 5 years. I lived in Eureka, California, or near Eureka, California, which is about a stone's throw from where the Patty, the Patterson-Gimlin site is.
Cool.
Had some weird things happen out there. Didn't see anything, but heard some odd things that I didn't know what they were. And out there at the farm, we pretty much on a nightly basis during the summer, you'll hair a scream, the loud scream, or you'll hear like an Ohio howl. I haven't really heard any whoops. Most of what I hear typically is, in the distance, But yeah, we've definitely had some weird stuff out there on the farm, and I've actually tried to do some research on the farm out there because I've had some like ghosty stuff kind of happen. I've got grabbed, touched a couple times in the house, and I've talked to a friend of mine that is familiar with the area, and she kind of hinted at that, and this is just a revelation that I just came to here recently, is that there potentially was some occult stuff that happened out on this property or in this area. That's high strangeness. I don't know. I can't really connect dots, to Bigfoot and Dogman and, all that with that, but it's definitely weird,
Yeah, it is. And that's awesome that you've had those experiences and encounters. And we definitely want to thank you for being on the show with us today and telling us and the listeners your experiences.
Yeah, man, those are really cool. Thank you.
And also thank you for being a truck driver. I know people don't give you guys enough credit, but they don't realize that if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have product in the store. We wouldn't be able to buy a lot of things. We wouldn't be able to get stuff from Amazon, etc. So thank you for that too, man. Really, really appreciate it. I know it's tough work out there. So.
Yeah, and most people just view us as an annoyance. We're in their way, but they don't. Unless a truck driver, you don't really think about it. But you're right. Every single thing that are on your store shelves, the car you drive, all the parts that went to make that car, everything that your hands touch, was brought to you by a truck driver. So.
Yep, that's right.
It was awesome talking with you today, Steve, and we appreciate you coming on the show and telling us your encounters.
Yep, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, you take care, and if you see something else out there on the road or even at your home, get it.
Yeah, stay in touch. Let us know.
Yeah, I will. I will definitely, and I'll try to get a video of it.
Sure.
So, yep.
All right, bud.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep, see you.
Yep.
All right, see you.
Yep.
You're listening to the Cryptid Creature Show with Todd and Brian. We're glad you're here, and we hope you're enjoying the show. Don't forget to visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net. By becoming a member, you'll get access to exclusive videos, members-only episodes, early, unedited, ad-free releases, and even a shout-out on an episode. Join us at www.cryptidcreatures.net, and thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah, the skinwalker or the rake, whatever those things are, those just
Whatever you saw. I don't know.
Like I said before, it's one thing to see Bigfoot, and I guess it's one thing that, it's a dog man. Okay, it's getting more common, but what are those things doing here?
I don't know what these things are, man.
I'm thinking they got to be alien or something, but don't they always seem to be
I
like...
hope that's all they are.
I always imagine them as being sloth-like. Like they just move real slow and kind of like, creepy. Or I don't think they don't appear to be very, aggressive, maybe? Or you think I'm crazy?
Maybe that's just how they appear. Yep,
That's a good thing.
No, I don't ever want to see one. I know
And
that.
that whole luring people to them thing, we're seeing that with these these guys. I wonder what happened if you did go to it.
We probably wouldn't have got the story.
Just punch it in the nose and break its skinny arms and kick its knees out and
Sure.
drag it in the house and throw it in the freezer and
Absolutely.
call us. All right, man. With that, we'll call this an episode and let the listeners move on to the next one.
Right on.
All right. Good talking to you, my friend. I will see you
Right on,
next
man.
time.
See ya.